Hi, I'm Martin from Evolution, and today what I'm going to be talking about is strategic planning. I'm going to be talking about what it is, how you can use it, and introduce you to a process that we've used in lots of different organisations in all sectors, public, private, third sector, and with large teams, with teams of senior managers and so on. What I'm going to be focusing on today though is strategic planning for owner-managed businesses, for entrepreneurs. So if you're wondering what an entrepreneur actually is, essentially it's somebody who owns some or part of a business that they're involved in. So if that applies to you, then you are an entrepreneur. And do you remember why you became an entrepreneur, why you set up your own business or became part of that business? Was it to take control of your life back? Was it about kind of the idea of financial security? Was it about enjoyment? And do you find yourself now that perhaps those things haven't really occurred for you? That you're feeling a little bit out of control, that perhaps your business is in control of you rather than you being in control of your business? So the way to increase your profit, to feel fulfilled in your business, to enjoy what you're doing, is to have a plan of action, and put a plan in place that's going to help you really make that work for you, to take control back of your business, to feel fulfilled and to earn money. Because at the end of the day, it's very difficult to feel fulfilled in a business when you're not making a profit. So, let's have a look. Essentially, strategic planning, or putting a plan together for your business, which is absolutely crucial, is just to answer three key questions. First of all, where are we now? Secondly, where do we want to be? And finally, how do we get there? So it's simple, it's as simple as that. The only problem is, it's simple but not easy. The problem with trying to plan your business strategically and taking that big view rather than planning operationally for what you're going to be doing in the next month or the next 6 weeks or the next year even, is the difficulty of getting your head back from that detail. So often, and most times in fact, when small businesses sit down together to plan their business for the future, they tend to get bogged down in the detail. I've heard businesses talking about invoice numbers and certain clients and certain projects and so on, and finding it very difficult to take that step back from the business to have that helicopter, that kind of overview. So what I want to do is to introduce you to a process to help you do that. Okay? So what we're going to look at is answer these two key questions with this one particular model, which I found really, really effective. If you look at any organisation, the performance of that organisation, whether it's a small business or it's a public sector, large, multinational, whatever it is affected by all of these different aspects. Each one of these has a bigger impact on the performance than the one below it. So for instance, the environment that you work in will have an impact on the organisation and the organisation's performance, but not necessarily a huge one. This is a little bit like that famous phrase of moving deck chairs around on the Titanic. It might look a little bit better, it might feel a little bit more comfortable, but it doesn't stop the boat sinking. Behaviour has a bigger impact on performance than the environment that you operate in. And by environment, we're talking about the geographical, the physical environment, but also the psychological and the emotional environment, so what it feels like to work as part of that business. So what you do within that organisation has a big impact on the outcome and the performance. So, to continue with the Titanic, if you'd steered the boat away from the iceberg, it wouldn't have hit it. So that would have had a big impact on the performance, and the boat wouldn't have sunk. The problem is you need the capabilities to be able to behave in that particular way within that environment. So you need to be able to steer the ship, you need to know how to do it, you need to have the skill to do it, and the equipment and the resources to be able to do that. Beliefs and values have a big impact on capabilities, on whether you can or you can't, and behaviour and environment, and obviously performance. So whether you believe something to be true or not will have a massive impact on performance. So if you believed that there would be no icebergs this far south, you may not even notice it. I know it's a big one, but if you really believe that's not going to be there, or if it's not important to you to keep a lookout for an iceberg, then you're still going to hit it. So beliefs and values have a really big impact. Even bigger is the identity. So how you see yourself as an organisation has a massive effect on the way that you perform, because your identity affects your beliefs and values. So who you see yourself as a company affects what you believe and what you value. It affects your capabilities, your behaviour and the environment that you operate in, and therefore your performance. So what we do as part of this strategic planning process is we go through this model and we go in this direction. So we start off with the environment now. So where are you now in terms of environment? Where are you now in terms of behaviour, in terms of capabilities? What beliefs and values do you hold as an organisation now? And how do you see yourself? What is your identity as an organisation? And that then enables you to step out of this model altogether and define your purpose, what the business is for, what you are there for. This is really important, and having gone through this exercise, it helps you to define that purpose in a slightly different way than perhaps you would have done originally. And every time we've used this, we've seen that happen. And the purpose that comes out here is a really important statement, because that's what the organisation is about. Because then what we do is we take that purpose, and with that purpose in mind, we go back down through this model. So with that purpose in mind, how do you see yourself as a business now? With that purpose in mind, what beliefs and values do you have to hold to meet that need? What capabilities do you need to complete that purpose or to achieve that purpose? What do you need to do individually and organisationally to achieve that? And what does the environment now look like, sound like, feel like? So this is the where are we now? What's the purpose? Where do we want to be? The next stage to that, of course, is the plan. How do we get there? It's a lot easier to define a plan of how to get there when you know where you're going. When you've got a destination in mind, it's a lot easier to navigate your way towards that end. So you need to think about a number of key questions. Creating the plan, the first thing you need to think about is when. When do we want to achieve it? And once you've set a goal, a date for that goal, so that's a really specific date, not sometime next year or in 5 years, but a real date, a date and a date. You then need to think about what you need to do to get there. And one of the best ways to do this is imagine that you've already done it. So we're not looking at goals, but a series of achievements. So what have we achieved on this particular date that we're talking about here? Split those into headings. So what have you achieved in terms of financial performance? What have you achieved in terms of the team, or in terms of products that you produce, or in terms of whatever headings you choose that are appropriate to your business? And also think about not just a business, but what about your personal goals? Because we talk a lot about work-life balance, and when you run your own business, you need to think more about life balance, because it's not just work and life, it's work interacts and impacts on the whole of your life. Your life impacts on work as well. And that's really important to think about those achievements, because once you've put all these achievements down, your personal life, your business life, and whatever headings you put down for that, it is personal to you as an individual or as an organisation, then you need to think about how you're going to achieve it. What steps will you take to achieve it? And again, the easiest way to do that is to imagine that you've already achieved it and think about what steps you did take to get there. So what did you have to do to achieve those goals that you've achieved? And I know that sounds a little bit odd, but what we've found is that when you start to think outside of the box in this sense, when you start to think about it as if you have achieved it, it becomes a lot more creative. And the plans that we've seen people set down, most people have achieved them far ahead of the time that they actually planned to do it. So if we go back to what we were talking about at the start here, the thing about a strategic plan is that without one, if without a destination, any direction will do. With a plan, you might change that destination, but at least you're moving towards it. It's a lot easier, if we go back to the Titanic, it's a lot easier to turn the boat if you're actually moving than if you're standing still. So if you're moving towards a goal with constant review, you might change that strategy depending on external circumstances. But if you have no goal to start with, you can end up zigzagging all over the ocean, not really sure where you're going to go to. So this is important, it's absolutely crucial, I think, for businesses to succeed. But it's a very difficult thing to do because, as I've said before, stepping into it as being part of the business, it's very easy to get focused on the detail and finding it difficult to step back and look at that big picture. The process is really helpful and really useful, and it's always more effective if it's facilitated. And we have facilitated this process for lots of organisations now. So if you want to find out more about it, contact us. We're at evolution-development.com. Have a look on the website and look for Navigator. Navigator is what we call our strategic planning tool. And as I've given you a quick overview of how that process works, you'll find that it's really, really effective. So good luck, and hope you find your destination. Thank you.